am here today to talk about floor plans. And so why do I think I'm qualified? Well, I am a registered architect with a master's degree in architecture from the University of Melbourne. I'm also a teacher. I'm a qualified teacher with a graduate diploma of secondary education from Australian Catholic University. I've been published in Architecture AU, in the Association of Consulting Architects newsletter, and other industry publications. I'm a sessional tutor and lecturer at Monash University, where I teach building performance, architectural practice and documentation. And I also teach at the University of Melbourne in a subject called Human Environment Relations. It's all about how people move in space. At a personal level, of course, I live in a house with my husband and two sons who are 8 and 6. I renovated that home in the early 2010s with my husband, Stefan, and we lived in it while we renovated. So I talk the talk and I've walked the walk. Fortunately, we renovated before children. I think that for us was the right decision. Now, I don't have slides today because working with me and working with the architect GPs is a real experience. It's not a repetitive same process every time one. So I'm going to be showing you real paper and pens and being more interactive. So I invite your questions, perhaps through the chat at any time, and Tiana will feed them to me. So we're here today not just to talk about floor plans, but to work on them with you. What I want you to take away today is knowledge that the floor plan has more power than you might think to set up your project for success. And that's in terms of its function, the comfort of your home, the cost of construction, and its ongoing environmental performance. I feel that often these deeper issues of floor plan design or redesign are not investigated sufficiently or with sufficient expertise. So together we'll play our part in turning that around. Now, I use the metric of thoughts per square metre. And the more thoughts per square metre you can invest in your design at the start, the bigger the return on your investment later on. And that includes enjoyment, investment in enjoyment, as well as financial returns. Because the floor plan defines the scope of your project. That is the number of square metres you're planning to build and the room types. So depending on where you are in Australia, to give this a bit of context, every square metre you do build can cost between $2,500 for a builder plan construction, and maybe up to $10,000 a square metre, depending on where you are in the country. So a design that can reduce its footprint, reduce the size of the floor plan by 5 square metres, maybe that's eliminating a corridor, has a material saving to your construction cost of, by those metrics, anywhere from $12,500 to maybe even $50,000. So, but there is nothing wrong with a generous home, but I do believe there's a big difference between a generous home and a flabby floor plan. So here we are. The floor plan is indeed a very powerful document. And the best ones, what they actually do is capture a whole thorough thought process about thinking about how it is that you want to live. And so we're going to move into some examples so that you can see how this plays out in real life. So I will bring up our floor plan. So now I think you're looking at my hands. Hello, I'm still here. This is an example from a client who came to me earlier in the year for a floor plan review workshop. So I'm going to demonstrate to you my most important principles or techniques for working on an internal layout. Those two techniques are thinking about actual real life scenarios and how people move in a home. So the client came to me 70% happy with the design. Here's my demonstration client today. They came to me about 70% happy with the floor plan. They've gone through several iterations with their draftswoman, but they had this feeling that they just wanted to know what they didn't know. They wanted the reassurance of seeing the floor plan from another perspective. So where do we start? The first thing I did, so I'm presented with this document, and on the face of it, well, there's a house. There's a 1, 2, 3 bedroom home with kitchen, walk-in pantry, laundry, and all the trimmings. So how do you think about making something better? I'll go immediately to scenarios. The first scenario is, imagine the owner, here's Henry, is coming home, has parked the car in the garage and is bringing in the shopping. So how do you actually bring the shopping to the kitchen and the pantry? In this floor plan, you would be coming in through the garage, coming into the hallway, walking all the way around into the kitchen and into the pantry and unloading your groceries. So that's a lot of circulation and a lot of carrying of those shopping bags. So this was my entry point into the plan, and I saw an opportunity. So I said, what if we actually make an opening in this wall? What if we swing that garage door in the opposite direction and we have a sliding door in this location? Client, I thought, might have been concerned about losing their bench space, so we can return that bench space to them through here, and we've still got our sink and fridge bench here. So now let's see how that floor plan move changes the effort of coming home with your shopping, coming in, being able to go straight into the pantry, unload the shopping, coming out to the kitchen, making yourself a cup of tea. So that has reduced by 10 meters the length of distance you need to carry your shopping home. So that was improvement number one. Scenario number two. The scenario is we've gone out the front door. Now, what if you realised it's a bit colder than you thought, and you want to dash back in and get your coat? All right, so we're dashing back inside, going into the robe, walking around the bedroom and into the walk-in robe, and back again. So you've got to walk right through the bedroom. So how does this scenario get improved? Again, let's follow the movement. Door comes back to the hallway. Oh, we've got row. Okay, so you can see where I'm heading. Now you can enter the robe directly. But what about all that space that's just been lost? Well, let's think about it the other way. The robe can now be extended in this direction. We get that space back. And then sometimes what presents is an opportunity for a little bit of magic. Here, we can step this back, and I proposed creating a bench seat here, an upholstered seat rather, so that you've got a spot to sit and put on your shoes. These robes can have closed doors on them if we're concerned about the visibility of into the robe, or even having a soft curtain hang across that. But now your route back in to get your coat is much more direct, and you haven't lost any space, and we've still got natural light into the walk-in robe. Scenario one, scenario two, scenario three. The client was concerned about the stair. They weren't happy with the route for getting down the stairs. And here a big opportunity opened up, and also a cost-saving opportunity. So this at the moment is a switchback stair. So it's two widths of staircase. with a corridor to access it. So what happened here was to say, let's turn the switchback stair into an L stair. So now the stair's going down in this direction. And this allowed the bathroom to then shift down, the bedroom to shift down, and I'll show you how that resolved. So here we can see we've gone to an L stair, bathrooms moved down, bedrooms moved down, and we've got now this hatched area is over 4 square metres of area that now does not need to be built because we've found that space within the floor plan. So this stair move, using our metrics from before, has saved anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 of build costs because this is area that does not need to be built anymore, with no loss of amenity, bedrooms the same size, bathrooms the same size. But because we're utilising the corridor space now for 2 purposes, we've gained that back into the floor plan, much more efficient. So this is then how the analysis and the changes, so you can see here, here's that upholstered seat, here's that robe that we looked at, here's the door into the pantry. So all that gets presented with rationale back to the client for them to then present this rebrief to their, in this case, to their draftswoman with really, really clear instructions. Cool, thank you. Now, any questions from the floor so far, attendees? It's okay if there's not. I just want to know that I am talking to you and with you. I want to, you know, make you feel as present and as welcome as I can. The next thing I want to talk about is a comparison, I guess, between the energy. Energy is what I want to talk about next. So in the introduction, I mentioned that we've got comfort, we've got cost, and we've got ongoing energy performance as key benefits of an efficient and good floor plan. Energy can be a hard one to pin down, and to read more about it, I refer you with a link to a great article by Sarah Hobday-North, who's got a really relatable and readable article about star ratings and energy efficiency assessment in building. So here I've got an exemplar floor plan, really thoughtful, really efficient. Now, this floor plan, we know from the title block that north is to the top of the page. So they tell us that this building faces north. What does that mean? So what? It relates to the location of lots of glazing across the northern orientation of the floor plan. And this dotted line here, which is a floor plan element, so that line running through here is telling us that there is shading, that's a roof line above our heads. So we've got glazing coupled with a shading overhang on the northern side. And the rooms relate to that. We've got our dining room looking out over that thin deck, glazing in the garden. We've got light coming into our living room where we're spending most of our time. The garage, the bathrooms are on the southern side because we're not spending a lot of time in there. We don't need to enjoy daylight. They have functional daylight on the southern side and in this case on the eastern side of the building. Northern orientation means you've got your living areas and your habitable spaces focused on the northern side. So we've got living areas to the north, tick in the box. But we're not compromising on a luxury in this plan either. We've got a full master suite. Look at this great master bedroom, luxurious and very fashionable, I must say, walk-in robe and bathroom. So we've got a full master suite and it's multi-use. Check this out. So when at night time, you can retire to the master bedroom and pull this sliding door across. You've then got privacy for this master suite. But during the day, you can pull this sliding door across and make private your own bedroom. You can make private your walk-in robe, but the bathroom becomes accessible to guests and to others in the home. So it really gets maximum benefit out of one bathroom. And effectively, you're giving two bathrooms to the home with the intelligent location of sliding doors. So full marks there.
Who's that video you? It's a meeting I'm on.
Hello. And in this, I love that the laundry doubles as a pantry. I love that the laundry doubles as a pantry. So you could have your favourite appliance set up on the laundry bench. We can install some additional shelves for overflow of kitchen storage. And it gives us another access point to the outside. And when you've got the big washing up, we can use the laundry sink to support the kitchen. So this is a really clever location. I love also that the fridge is easy to access. No one needs to traipse right through the kitchen to get something for the fridge. It's got its direct line. The study here, of course, is a great work from home study. For different clients or for different phases of life, it becomes a second lounge room off the main space. So a space that just creates that overflow for whatever the family or the occupants in this home actually need at the time. Finally, I love that the entry hall here is also providing the separate zoned corridor for the front two bedrooms. So we've, again, double using this space. It's entry for the garage, it's entry for the front door, and it's also separating the main living area from this bedroom wing and giving access to those bedrooms. Now, this efficient plan is only efficient in the correct orientation. Well, you've probably heard of star ratings. We legally have to have a 7-star rating for new homes. I have run this floor plan, this really great floor plan, through a star rating calculator. And I can tell you it comes out in this orientation at 7.6 stars. So we've exceeded the standard, and this plan would pass its energy rating component of getting a building permit. Good news. However, if we turn the orientation 90 degrees to the east, and so let's say we had all that nice glazing facing to the east, unfortunately that drops our star rating down to 6.3 stars. So now it actually doesn't comply with the energy regulations, and that is not going to pass. You've got to go back to redesign or change materials, up-spec the windows, add additional cost. Similarly, if it were to be fully rotated or rotated to the west, we've got 6.6 stars in a southern orientation and 6.4 stars in a western orientation. So the direction, this is why architects keep banging on about orientation, northern orientation, glazing and shading to the north. It has a material impact on the amount of energy your home will use. Okay. And that amount of energy, you don't need to see the detail of this table, but when this home's built in Melbourne, it's allowed to use 83 megajoules of energy per metre squared per year. It's about the heating and cooling input. If this home was being built in Darwin, a 7-star rating is actually allowed to use 285 megajoules of energy because the climate in Darwin is different, and it's basically a concession to say that you will need more energy to be able to cool your home in the Darwin context to be comfortable. In Hobart, you're also allowed to use more. Here's Launceston in Tasmania, 117 megajoules versus 83 in Melbourne. That's to say we know the climate in Tasmania is cooler. You are going to need more heating energy. So the standards are different depending on your location. And that means the design of the floor plan, the design of windows and shading becomes different. Fantastic. So this is all compared to a really flabby plan and now it becomes clearer. The question is, what is the orientation of this floor plan? This came from a Facebook group where people often go to ask, does anyone have feedback on this floor plan? I'm working on it with my draftsperson. I didn't know where to start, so I'm sharing it with you instead. No clue of orientation, and as we've just seen, that has a big impact. You enter the home through the front door, and the first thing you see is the location of the couch. So you're snuggling, you're at the end of the day, you're watching your favourite program, and the front door is right there. Feels quite exposed. My question would be, where is the natural light to the ensuite and walk-in robe? If a window is not shown on the plan, it does not get built. If you don't have a window there allowing some natural light into your walk-in robe, it's not going to happen. This master suite, which is huge, it's about a 6-metre square room, the walk-in robe here has created a corridor for our client to walk down and doubled the circulation. If a client could be satisfied with the robe on the wall, all of a sudden you've got the whole room back, and maybe you can see that we can reduce the square meterage, take maybe 5 square metres out of this bedroom alone, save yourself at least $10,000 and upwards. I won't look at all of these, but look at the cramped alfresco space here. We've got these big internal rooms, 1 big room, 2 big rooms at 25 square metres each, and then the outdoor space is just so compressed. Bedroom 3 has got the chairs of the alfresco setting right up against their window. Really cramped, ungenerous. This needs more space. I suggest other parts of the house need less space. Long walk in the kitchen. So if I'm here and I'm wanting to get something from the pantry, I've got to walk all the way around, and someone in the living room has got to walk right through the kitchen to get something from the fridge. Again, it's creating potential for clashes, for people getting in each other's way, and I think frustration is built into this floor plan. So it can be helpful to see the difference between an efficient and well thought through floor plan, which by the way is 175 square metres, 3-bedroom home plus study. This is a 4-bedroom home, no study, and it's 285 square metres, over 100 square metres more, and even at the most conservative building estimates, that's $250,000 more in build cost for this home versus the other. Generous home versus flabby floor plan. I think this one's a bit flabby. Okay, so I'll run through some of my examples. Jack, I want to talk about your floor plan. If you have any questions or anything you specifically wanted to note, then please pop it into the chat. Otherwise, I'll show you what I've been thinking. So I did have a bit of a play because this is my superpower. You've got a northeast orientation, which is my second favourite. So if you can't have north, we've got northeast in this direction. So why is it a northeast orientation? We're seeing this side of the house is pointing up that way. That's north, that's east. So the orientation of this I'll call northeast. Few questions which I'll cover in the analysis. There's this long wall at the entry. I'm wondering what that's about. I mean, of course, it's screening entry and family room, but it's not doing anything else for the floor plan. I love things that do two jobs, so I wanted to investigate this. Another thing that jumps out at me, especially when it's a new build and you're starting from scratch, dog legs in corridors. What's that about? How has that arisen? What's the critical dimension here for the garage that's pushed that out? But a dog leg in a corridor actually creates a bit of a bottleneck and it feels ungracious. So that I've got questions about. I'm wondering where the actual door to the garage is and what the access is. You know, is the garage door here and you're swinging around coming in from, is this a street? Although this looked like a corner, so that's my question. And the downside of having northeast along here is that we've got southwest down here, and southwest is prone to get hot afternoon sun. So these windows into the living and into bedroom 2 will need, I would suggest, additional shading. So let me run through a few things I've been thinking about in your floor plan. Let's go to the master suite. So the current master suite, we've got bedroom with 2 doors, one into the walk-in robe, one into the ensuite. Logical enough arrangement, but what I'm suggesting is that master bedroom, let's have 1 door into the walk-in robe, then off that we have the door into the ensuite, and that frees up all this wall space for either additional robe along here or a nice dresser, a nice piece of furniture, a beautiful tall boy, even a wall for art, mirrors, paintings. So wall space is actually really valuable and worth thinking about how we can rationalise movement. So this, you don't have to walk through the walk-in robe to get to the ensuite. We're just blending around this corner and we've made all this extra real estate available in the bedroom. Okay, I spoke about this long wall at the entry. What if that became an actual coat cupboard? So let's have a place of arrival where you can take off hats and shoes, maybe dump bags, umbrellas, all that stuff, so that we actually turn what's just a dividing wall into a functional element that gives utility. If you don't need a coat cupboard, perhaps it's storage into the family room. Many options. So then what I'm suggesting, we'll just run through a couple more things. So at the moment we've got a living space here, living space off the family and meals, and then bedroom 4 at the rear of the house here. Now this is a bigger move and one I would love to be able to discuss with you, because at the this process is very much should be a two-way. I'd love to be able to talk this through with you. What I'm suggesting is that where there was the second lounge, that actually becomes a bedroom. The bedroom accesses the toilet and bath suite very directly. So bedroom 2 has actually got a semi-ensuite, being so close to the bathroom. And we move the lounge room to the rear. What I'm thinking there is that actually creates more acoustic separation between the spaces. They've both got much more access to light and air, even access to their own front and back doors. these two spaces can still be sort of separated and articulated within the floor plan with a cavity sliding door through the now streamlined hallway. And I think this is a spot for a skylight or an Illume LED light so that we're bringing natural light into the corridor, which is also, of course, serving the other bedroom wing. So lounge room in this, it opens up, it takes what was the corridor, remind ourselves of the floor plan here. So there was the corridor, the hallway ran all the way through, and bedroom 4 was a 3.5 square room. If we make this the lounge, we've removed that need. We can use the storage element again, but we've just opened that up so much. Let's give that corridor space back to that feeling of generosity and openness in that second lounge room. I think the kitchen and pantry arrangement was pretty good indeed. And bedroom 3 similarly. If we were going to remove, I like the idea of having cross ventilation with the position of the lounge. Excellent. Oh, you know your stuff, Jack. That's very impressive. That you're quite right. Because we've got a corner room here, that lounge can open on 2 sides and we get ventilation right through. You're on the money. You're on the money. So many other good things about this plan. There may be possible to remove some square meterage from the plan by deepening this porch, but this is the finer things to refine about storage locations, trading off, the length of the laundry. Tell me how you use your laundry. What is the quantity of things you need to store in the pantry? It is a large walk-in pantry, but there might be some space savings here. There might be some space savings in the family and meals area to have. I've got to say, it's a pretty good floor plan. It's got some really good bones, as we might say. And with a few tweaks, I think it will just be so much easier, and just have that little lift. It'll be so much easier and more enjoyable to live in. But the bones here are really good. You've done some great work. Okay, so I'd love to know if there are any other questions or comments from our attendees as we get to wrap up stage. And I just take a breath, because this is a lot of fun. I hope you can see as we're doing this, this is, but when you're able to identify the impact on you got to imagine yourself in the floor plan. This is a diagram of someone's life, and that's the position that me and the architect GPs take when we're looking at this. Homes are so personal. We work through with you directly in a very visceral workshop, and we love to see the client interaction. Great. So yes, do feel free to unmute, and I will unpin the plan. Cool. So I guess there's a demonstration. So I hope that's given you a window into what it is that an architect is thinking and how they're thinking, the different layers that we go through, from environment cost, constructability, shading. We're thinking in 3 dimensions as we're drawing in 2 dimensions. That is something that we've trained to do over the 6 or 7 years of our formal architectural training. And that's why a floor plan is such a valuable document, because it should be capturing a 3D life of the building in this 2D diagram. It's more than a diagram, it's the bones of your home. And it's not good enough to be 70% happy with your floor plan, and neither do you have unlimited time or energy or resources to keep going back and forth to try and get it right. My clients often find themselves in a situation where they're being asked questions by the very people they've hired as experts that they just don't feel comfortable or confident or qualified to answer. If your draftsperson's asking you, where do you want the windows? How big do you want the bedroom? Where should this be? They're actually putting a lot of responsibility on you for things that a designer and I think an architect are better equipped to be able to answer. And that's the service and the support that we offer. So those clients, they're feeling a really intelligent uneasiness that they don't know what they don't know. And that's what prompts them to come and get the support that they're not getting from their current team. And this is what I do. This is what architect GPs do. We provide that support, and we're filling in that connection, that gap that you're not getting between people, space, cost, construction, environment, and delight in the outcome. This is our superpower, and we offer it as a workshop experience. So it's the floor plan review workshop where we get to work together like this for a solid 2-hour session. I've done the prep, we do the workshop, you get that marked up plan, that marked up report at the end so that you know exactly what to do and how to instruct your team. And we're on the phone if you need to check in with us again. We want to fill the gap between what you've got and where you want to be without having to sign up for full architectural services. So I think when you can't afford to get it wrong, it's actually it's a small investment in making a huge number of good decisions that you'll actually get to enjoy for years to come. So I thank you. I do hope you've enjoyed today's webinar. You'll receive an email in the next day or so reminding you or asking you for feedback. And I would be so grateful if you would complete that because we really do want to fill the gap that our clients, that you out there as homeowners have. My lines of communication are always open, so get in touch with me via the website, via Architect GP. We're real people and we will reply really promptly. Now, Deanna's reminded me there is a question, so please, what have I missed? How does... now let me see. Good. Here we are. Why can't I see that question come up in the chat? Great. How does an award-worthy building designer differ from an architect? Yeah, and the customer experience. Yeah. Okay, so it's really in the business model. So a draftsperson they've got incredible skills, they're amazing on compliance, and they know a lot about design, no mistake. They are allies in this space, but their business is based on the output of drawings first, I guess. There's more time and the assumption that more time needs to be built into the process when you're working with an architect to interrogate more of these questions, to look more into the why are we moving that room there? Why are we putting that shade here or there? Why is it actually needed? And then what is it that we're really going to do? So I think you get much more time and rigor into the solutions because you're exploring the questions of why are we doing it and what are we doing much more with an architect than with a draftsperson. Once you've got the thing that is worth building, then in the architectural process, we figure out the regulatory and the technical processes. That's all there as well. in a draft person or building designer process, there's just a bit less from that investigative side. So thank you for that. Thanks for that question. It is a common one, and it's about the level of I guess the level of person and the level of support that you get in helping make great decisions about your home, and that's our additional training. So thank you. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. The next webinar will be the 30th of April. Hello, thanks, Dion. The next webinar is the 30th of April, where I'll be co-hosting with Louise O'Brien on the wonderful topic of sustainable trends in housing design and how to make a low carbon future easy. So I'm looking forward to working with Louise on that webinar for next month. So stay tuned, and I hope to see you there as well. Thank you, everybody. Do send your feedback, and I really appreciate you being here today. Bye for now.